Hello, Cancer. This is your story for the week. Keep in mind that this story could be more applicable to your past or your future than your present. That being said, take what resonates in the story and leave the rest. First off, we're picking our characters from the night sky playing cards, and I just had a few fly out, so let's see what we've got here. All right, so we've got Lacerta, the lizard. Ooh, so you have a lizard energy. 3 of clubs, lizard energy in your reading. Lizard. Lizard, the furnace, Fornax, the 2 of clubs. Okay, so 3 of clubs, 2 of clubs. You have Aquarius, the water bearer. Okay. And then Sagitta, the arrow. So that's the 4 of spades. Okay. Okay, so let's think about this for a moment. You have a lizard, a water bearer, an arrow, and a furnace. I feel like a message is coming in and then like things are steaming up. So how to put this into perspective here. Okay, so I think our lizard is the main character of our story, right? And we have an archer and a water bearer. Okay. Yeah, all right. So let's look at what this lizard is facing. Protective playing cards. Probably should stop shaking the table. Causes things to move about. My I don't know what this thing is called. All right, we've got protection from heartbreak. The Ace of Hearts. Protection from heartbreak. I get another message of protection. Here we have the Joker. Protection from crippling despair. Okay. A long time ago, there lived a little lizard. A small lizard who lived at the what sort of lizard is she? I'm trying to think. This little lizard, she lived amongst a fine grove of wild succulents. Wild overgrown succulents. She lived amongst them. And she dashed around quickly. And though there were many predators around who would like to make a quick meal of her, you know, she never got caught. And she was so sly, so quick, so slippery that, like, you know, she became something of a legend, you know. And actually some of the other, you know, some of the predators in the area, you know, had jokes about, like, you know, whoever catches her, you know, wins a prize, you know, like if you catch her, like, or, you know, there's also some rumors like that, or things like that. If you caught her, they would, like, you know, have a celebration in your honor. But then some were like, yo, if you catch that one, it's probably bad luck. So there was, like, she was in a place of being slightly protected and slightly vulnerable at the same time. And in this community, she lived for many years. Until one day, our little lizard was darting too fast, and in her movements, she dislodged some stones. And one of them came crashing down upon her leg. And being a weird little lizard that she was, you know, she tried to squirm out, and it was too heavy. She couldn't, you know, break free. and she had this like urge to like chew off her leg and to just dart away. But then she also was grappling with the thought like, okay, well, if I don't have a leg anymore, what's this going to look like, you know, in terms of my speed? You know, I'm going to be a lot more vulnerable. And so she's in this space, you know, really worried because it's midday and the sun is like beating down on her, getting hotter and hotter. And, you know, lizards love to bake in the sun, but it was getting to be a bit unbearable for her. And she let out a little whine, a little yelp, yelp. And this alerted many of the predators far and wide that some vulnerable little creature was in danger and just ready to be made a meal of. So her yelps, while being cries of despair, quickly became very dangerous because they began to circle in. A hawk flew overhead and spotted her and went back, you know, around. It was like, it's the lizard who's gonna get her, you know. The hawk had already had a meal that morning, so wasn't interested in eating her, although perhaps interested in grabbing her and being the one that gets her. So yeah, they all started like talking, and like the rumor went around quickly that it was her. And so, like I said, some got really excited, some got really tense, like, oh no, not our little lizard. And in the meantime, she was just there, stuck, trapped under this rock that was way too heavy to dislodge, feeling very scared, vulnerable, and unsure of what to do, weighing whether she wanted to even chew off her own leg just to get away and to be safe. And in that moment, she felt something really incredibly wet come upon her. You know, just a drenching came upon her. This water bear energy that we're talking about here. And at first she thought it was like a feeling of anxiety that like moved over her. She didn't know that it was anything that could have been, you know, happening outside of her at that moment. But it was actually one of the creatures that had heard of her misfortune and decided that they would go in and try to help her. And this creature, it was a little desert cat. All right, this little desert cat had chased her many times before, but felt like, you know, like she really didn't want it to end this way with her, you know. She had always wanted to like legitimately catch her, and she felt that this was like not fair. You know, you can't go down like this. You're the quick little lizard, you know. You're meant to be caught by someone, you know, faster and smarter than you are. So yeah, this little cat started dumping a little cup of water to try and move the rocks around the lizard. And told her to like squirm a bit to see if it would dislodge, you know, or if she could get free. And it didn't work. So she was stuck there. It was hot, and now she was wet. And you know what happens when you're, you know, it's hot out and you have like, and you're in the sunlight, and then you have water on you, you know, it kind of speeds up, it increases the heat even more. And she, at this point, she just gave up. She accepted that she was gonna die, that she would probably even be cooked alive, and that she just had no idea what she was gonna do. She just gave up and said, someone come and take me. And this little cat was just like, okay, we can't let this happen. We have to protect her somehow. So the cat starts moving stones around her and builds a little enclosure around her of stones, buries her essentially in a little mound of stones. Now, as this is going on, the lizard is just watching, just watching and thinking, what is this cat doing? Because the cat's like, they're not really communicating, they're not really, the lizard isn't understanding what the cat is doing, which is like trying to protect her. So yeah, the cat builds this little stone enclosure over the lizard and says, at the end, wait, rest now. I'm going to come back later and we're going to get you out of here. And essentially the lizard was left with no choice but to she'd already, apart from giving up previously, she had now been enclosed in a mound of rocks, that she had no hope of getting herself out of. But as she began to cool down, she began to quickly get her strength back. And she came to a decision in this space. Okay, when I get, when they come back for me, somebody's probably gonna try and eat me. What is my strategy? How am I gonna deal with this? How am I gonna break free? How am I gonna get out of this, essentially? So she's in this dark little, enclosure of rocks. She's thinking about what's gonna happen to her. Her mind has all kinds of visions flooding, I'm gonna get pecked alive by birds, or maybe this cat is gonna mangle me, or she's gonna play with me until, I'm dead, essentially. And she's just imagining all the grim things and thinking okay, deep breaths. What can I do? And she quickly realized, she had to wait and she had to trust that, she was going to be okay. She realized that it didn't, her worry wasn't getting her anywhere. So she decided to stop worrying. And night fell, and all of the predators quickly changed from their day counterparts to their night counterparts. And the little cat came back. And this time the little cat came back with a little dog and a big bird, all of which before would have loved to make, a fine meal of this lizard. And they start to remove the rocks one by one, and she, just laid there awaiting her fate, awaiting for what was about to happen. In the meantime, the cat had been going around and asking people if they'd seen the lizard, or asking the other predators, hey, have you seen the lizard? I can't find her. I heard that she was stuck, the hawk, that's what the hawk said. How do you feel about it? Do you want to eat her? And basically took poll of who was an ally and who wasn't in the meantime. And, when she found a dog and she found a bird, both of whom wanted the little lizard to live. And they formed a little pack to come back and figure out, how are we going to get her free? The cat was like, I tried spitting and getting I tried spitting and dumping water on her. That didn't work. So the dog thought, okay, well, I could probably push the rock off of her. I could probably move the rock with my physical strength. The bird listened, didn't say anything. She was figuring out how she could help. She said, that sounds like a good idea, dog. Okay, you move. You move the stone, and then Cat and I will try to grab her, as soon as the stone gets moved. Right? So yeah, Cat takes them to the little stone. They're there. They're lifting the stones off, or the mound of circle stones that the cat had previously laid there for her. And they see her laying there, and she's just looking up at them with just the most done expression is the best way I can describe it. Done. She was done. Dog starts pushing the stone away with all of its might. And she was quickly free. And Bird was able to come in and grab her, actually. So she was free from the stone, but now she was in the clutches of this bird. And the bird was like, all right, you're free now. Where do you want me to take you? And the lizard just is just stunned by this whole arrangement that these three predators who had made her life hell, for so long, and it had disturbed all of her excursions, were helping her. And she said, I do want to go home, but I don't want you all to know where I live. And the bird was like, well, why? And she's like, well, if you know where I live tomorrow, when things go back to normal, and we all resume our natural roles in this world around us, you're going to know where I live, and I'm going to be even more vulnerable to predation. And I'm weakened, Her leg was hurt at that point. It had been under a rock for a long time. Nothing was broken, but it was definitely she needed a lot of time to rest. And so Bird and Cat and Dog and Lizard all were there, all together for a moment. We're like, okay, well, what are we going to do with her? Because she needs to rest. She needs to go home. But, she doesn't trust any of us. And, that makes sense. Who does she trust? Who can we give responsibility over little Lizard to? And, they're looking to her like, hey, well, who is your friend? Who is your ally here? Who from your past has been there for you and can be trusted to take you back home and to look after you? Because we're not going to leave you like this. Okay. And so Lizard said, there's one creature who has been an ally to me over the years and who has never tried to eat me. You have to find the wild horse. And so, the only one that could actually go and cover really broad terrain was the bird, and she agreed to give the lizard to Dog and Cat to look after while she went and found Wild Horse. So the bird flew and flew far and wide, looking for where the Wild Horse was, surveying the lands, looking at all the finery of this great desert, till she came to the place where the wild horse was. And she flew down and she said, "Wild Horse, something terrible has happened. The lizard, the quick little lizard, has been hurt. She needs to go home, but she doesn't trust any of us predators to take her to her home. Can you help?" And the horse said, "Oh yes, of course I can help. What can I do though? I'm a horse." And the bird said, "You have to follow me because she is far away. She was injured." And the wild horse is like, "Well, wait, is this some kind of setup? Why are all these predators wanting to see me and have me come around, you know?" And again, it was a case of just needing to trust that the bird was being genuine. So she said, how do you, she said, "What will you give me to, let me know that this is okay for me to be involved in?" And the bird said, essentially, you just have to trust me. Little lizard isn't talking. The horse looked at the lizard and, really went within herself for a moment and decided, how am I going to feel if I could have helped little lizard and I didn't? So she agrees, okay, I'm going to follow the bird. The bird took off in the sky, and horse started following her path. On and on she ran very fast across the rough terrain until she got to the place where they all were. And of course, at this point there was a spectacle going on because there was so much commotion that all these other creatures were like watching at this point. All these other desert creatures, like, what's going on? What's with lizard? Somebody should really eat lizard. And cat and dog were having to fight off like predators trying to get her in the interim. Mind you, she couldn't run at this point. And so, once the horse and the bird arrived, there was a big commotion. And essentially, the lizard was given over to the horse. And the horse just, said, "Grab onto my mane." Lizard did, and they bolted out of there. And what the horse said to the lizard was, "Look, you aren't going to be well for a while. And there's a trail on you right now. So what we're going to have to do is have you come back to where I live and where I stay. Because that's the only place you're going to be safe. Because people are going to be expecting that I put you, and you're going to have to go into hiding there. Because, everyone's going to expect that I took you back to your place." And so the lizard agreed, and she went to stay with the horse. And, all the animals hadn't seen lizard for quite some time while she was recovering. And when they would run into the horse, they would be like, "Well, where is she? When are we going to see her? How's she doing?" And horse was just like, "Look, I took her home. I don't know when she's going to come out. It's not up to me." And so everyone was wanting an update. "Well, can you go get word from her?" And the horse said, "I will. But, you're going to have to be patient, because she's not gonna come out, she's not interested in coming out right now. So she and the lizard crafted like a nice little story while she was recovering, about her being in her own home, and about when she was expected to come back. But honestly, like, it was all just an official story. Lizard was actually pretty shaken up by the experience and had a lot of trouble running, and it was taking her quite a bit of time to get the use of her leg back. So, the horse was watching her friend go through this and was just like, I don't know what we're going to tell people. Like, at this point, you haven't been back in months, you aren't recovered. What's, how are we going to, like, make this story fly, at this point? Because everyone's waiting to see when you're going to come out. So yeah, she continued day by day, the little lizard, working on her body, getting her leg working. And she realized something, that she might not ever be as fast as she was again. So she had to make the decision. Did she go back to her community and be vulnerable in the way she was never before? Or did she just give up and start a new life somewhere else? I'm going to pull one more card for what her decision was. Okay. And she decided to write a new story and to not go back. Even though everyone was waiting for her, even though everyone was greatly anticipating when they would get to see her again, she decided, I'm not that little lizard anymore. I don't need to go back. I just need to go forward. And though she was grateful for the help she had received, she also knew that at the end of the day, those that had helped her were predators. And she would now be completely vulnerable. So our little lizard created a new home for herself on the edges of the desert. And the only friend she kept from that time was her friend, the wild horse.